Does sewing a zipper still scare you? Or does it always come out crooked, wavy, or uneven? Let me show you the easiest way to sew a neat zipper, even if you're a complete beginner. If you're just coming across this channel for the first time, I teach beginners how to sew from scratch. I also pinpoint some of the problems that you face as a beginner and give you solutions to it. So if you're interested in this, do well to click on the subscribe button, like, share, and comment. And if you're a returning subscriber, you're welcome back. Now, to fix a zipper, I have my zip right here. So I'm making use of a very basic zip right here. And the reason is because I am teaching you as a beginner. When you want to learn how to sew, sometimes it's advisable to use a zip that you can fix easily so that you'd be able to fix other zips easily. So I decided to just get this one for the sake of this tutorial. Okay, if you're making something really nice, I wouldn't advise you to use a zipper like this. When you're getting your zip, okay, always make sure to open your zip like so, to see and make sure that your zip is actually opening properly. So to fix this zipper, I've gone ahead to stitch from this part right here to the end of this dress. Now this is what we call the zipper lock, okay? So you have to lock this place while you're done stitching. That way the zipper will not be able to open at this point. So I had gone ahead to lock this point as so. Okay, so a zipper is supposed to be a little bit below your waist, maybe 2 inches below your waist line. That is, let me say 3 inches above your hips. Okay, now remember that we had taken about 1 inch right here. So this is the same 1 inch that I had sewn on, because this side is actually the zipper allowance. If I decide to make this 1/2 inch, it means I have added 1/2 inch to my body, and that is not going to make this cloth fit perfectly. So make sure that when you're doing this, you take the measurement at which you had taken while you were drafting your measurement. So now the very first thing I am going to do is to start off with measuring the inches at which I had taken from my zipper allowance. All right, so I'm going to take out 1 inch right here. Make sure that you measure at least the same 1.5 inch that you had used for the zipper allowance. That way you'll be able to give it a perfect fittings. Remember, we work with measurement, and the moment you miss a measurement, even if you add it by 0.2, it definitely will affect your outfit. Okay, so make sure that everything is always accurate. So to fix my zip, I'm going to be placing one side of my dress. Preferably, I always love to start off with the left side of our dress. Okay, so to do that, I will just go ahead and place my stopper right here. Now after the stopper, there's a smaller inch right here, and that is where it is going to bend. So this is where your stopper is going to be, and of course, you know, when you turn around, you're going to bend this as so. Okay, so this is where I am going to be placing my zip. And remember, you're placing your zipper on that your 1 inch, so make sure that you go ahead to measure that 1 inch. So I'll just go ahead and I'll place this under my machine as so. So let's just start with stitching our zip. So gradually make sure that when you're stitching your zip, you do not stitch on this part right here. Instead, make sure that you stitch a little bit away from here, okay, so that your zip would fit and you will not destroy your zip in the process. Okay, so when you get to this point right here, close to where you have locked this place for your zip, I'll take my zip up as so. Okay, so this is my zip right here. Remember, we had fixed this zipper open. Okay, so when I get to this point, I am going to zip it up. I am going to pull this as so, and then I'll place it on top of this point like so, and then I'll go ahead and stitch it. So I'm going to show you the finished look and the reason that I am doing that. Okay, so now after stitching this right here, Remember that you're going to stitch this to the end of this zipper, but if your zipper is too long, you can decide to cut it out. Okay, so make sure that you always measure the length of the zipper in which you're going to buy. Now after doing this, the next thing I'm going to do is to turn this dress in like so, and then I am going to keep this. Now everything I'm going to do, you're going to look at it. This is how I am going to place my zip. Okay, and I'm going to start stitching, making sure that this part sits right on top of where I locked it. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and stitch it to the upper part. Okay, now make sure that you use the same 1 inch you had used for the other side.
Now when you're stitching, make sure that you do not stitch anywhere very close to the teeth or on top of the teeth. All right, let it be at least 0.1 inches away from the zipper teeth. Okay, so just keep sewing like that till you reach this point.
Now one thing I want you to note is, if you do want the neckline to remain the same, okay, there are some people that would actually make a zipper, and then some necks will actually be bigger or smaller than the other. Maybe the left side of the neck is longer than the other side of the neck line. Now the reason this happens is because the same allowance that you had used for this side, you happen to have either added too much on this side or reduced too much. Okay, when you do that, it will not allow the neckline to align together. So make sure that you always mark, even if you want to use a chalk or you want to use whatever you want to use, make sure that you end up marking the zipper allowance that you had taken. Okay, always remember to mark it out, especially for you that is a beginner. If you do not know how to do it, or if you have not done it before, mark them out so that your zip will be on top of the allowance you had created. Okay, so now after doing this, the next thing I am going to do is to open this up as so. Okay, so I would go ahead and open this up, and then I would have space over here to stitch it to the end. So I'm going to put it under the machine and I would stitch it to the end as so. So have you seen how my zipper looks? I am not done, but this is what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead right here and I would complete my zipper at this point. The next thing I'm going to do is to bend my zip as so. So I'm going to bend where I have my stopper and I am going to stitch on top of it. Okay, so I'm actually done stopping this dress like this, and this is what it is going to look like. So the next thing I am going to do is to fold my zipper inside like so. Okay, and when I do that, I am going to top stitch on top. Now remember that you need to use the color. Okay, always use the same color of thread as your dress, so that once you stitch on top of it, it is not going to show. So I'm going to do this and make sure that you take about 0.5 or 0.2 inches at most to stitch. Okay, so your stitching is going to be between 0.2 inches and 0.5 inches. So I'm going to be using about 0.2 inches for my own, and I would stitch. So this is it, and then I am going to keep stitching back and forth until I am satisfied that it is not going to open. All right, so this is it right here, and the next thing I'm going to do is to trim off the thread. So one side of my zip is actually ready, so the next thing I'm going to do is to do the same thing over on the other side.
Now there are so many methods in which you can actually finish your zipper, okay, but I always choose to use the top stitching method, because if you top stitch like this using the same color of thread, it is going to come out as beautiful as a ready-to-wear dress. All right, so some other ones might not actually be as neat as this one.
Okay, so I'm actually done fixing my zipper, so I would just go ahead and zip this as so, to be sure that my zipper is well fixed. Okay, so I'm just going to zip this up to this point as so. Now some zippers that are not well zipped, okay, you realize that when you zip it up to a point like so, it will hook because either you had fixed the zip inside itself. Okay, so this is how my zipper looks right after I am done zipping this up like so. If you notice the neckline, it is aligning with each other, and that is it. So I'm just going to go ahead and iron this out as so. So if you fixed the zipper before and you did not know how to fix it this simple way, or you didn't know some tips that could be useful, and this video helped you in some way, click on the subscribe button. Remember to comment, like, and share. This would actually be very helpful to me, and this would also boost the reach of this video to send it to people that are also looking for this kind of help. See you in the next class. Bye.